Well, for maybe the last time in the 2022 NBA season, you'll hear that music. So, welcome back to the podcast. As always, during these NBA postseason podcasts that we've been doing, we've been joined by Rabindra. So, Rabindra, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me again. I always appreciate the opportunity and
Oh, no
always just
problem.
happy to discuss basketball, even though my picks haven't been growing that great.
Well, we want to go back. So, in case you haven't heard, um, it's going to be Boston and Golden State. They'll be the two teams, Boston from the Eastern Conference and Golden State out of the Western Conference, playing in this year's NBA Finals. And well, let's take a little look back then as to what we've been picking to see how well we did or how well we didn't do. Um, Overall, if I remember, I'll go first with my original pick was Philly and Phoenix, the Sixers and the Suns, and I just with the way that Philly just got out. That was like a really terrible pick. Like the way just Philly just got knocked out. It wasn't even competitive really in their series against Miami, and
Yeah,
then of course there was Phoenix, who I think that was the biggest shocker for me was the way Phoenix lost that series. I mean, Game Seven in your building and you lose. Now it's not uncommon to lose, a home Game Seven, but I would say that was one of the bigger shockers to me so far in these NBA playoffs. So I want you to give me one out of everything that's happened in these playoffs so far. What's like you don't have to give me the biggest one, but one that you can think of that was like just completely shocked you. What completely shocked you about these playoffs, good or bad?
let's see. I get it. I'm trying to think what I would pinpoint is probably the most shocking. I guess Dallas in general, like being in the Western Conference Finals, I still find that shocking. I think that's a good shocking aspect of it all at the end of the day. Especially, when we talked about like Phoenix, I picked originally, just to touch like specifically what I picked, which I obviously was totally wrong. But I picked Brooklyn on the eastern side, and I picked Phoenix to go on the western side. I knew Golden State would have like the opportunity to go if it wasn't Phoenix. In all honesty, like I felt like it was really between them two in terms of overall like depth and stuff like that. So like Golden State doesn't necessarily surprise me in this position. Boston is a bit of a surprise too. I really thought they were gonna lose at some point, but they didn't. So they're still there. But I would say Dallas, like Dallas for sure. But I think also that's a testament to how great Doncic has been. So I think that's what you got to take from that. That lightly touches on it. But that's there's a lot of surprises here at the end of the day. You had Joel Embiid, who's an MVP candidate, and unfortunately that whole transaction didn't work out too well on that side. So I don't know, the team just didn't pan out. There's a lot of things that didn't pan out this year, I would say. If
Well,
that makes sense,
you know, free agency, how these teams. So we can't, look ahead and say, well, this team's a favorite for next year because we don't know how these teams are going to play out, what they do in the draft,
Yeah, you never know how
or
they're gonna adjust.
yeah,
I think that's one thing to look forward to, honestly, like the off season and how these teams make adjustments because everybody's really not that it's never like that every year. Obviously, I think every team thinks that they, or at least most teams, you could think wholeheartedly they think they could win and they can really compete. Do something. So they're all gonna try. They're all gonna try to get somebody or make some big splash or the right piece. So, you know, I just it's hard, really hard. It's really hard to say. You can't really. But I still think I feel like the intensity in terms of competition, everyone trying to Dallas is definitely going to try and add to what they have. I can tell you that for sure. They feel like like they already. I think that's why I mentioned them so, or at least so frequently, because that's a huge take out of this. I'm telling you, like Doncic to get there so far with the team. Yeah, he didn't even. I mean, I don't know who you can really call the next best player, but technically, I guess when everyone's healthy, is it Tim Hardaway Jr. Right? Am I right?
yeah.
Yeah. So like, think about it like that. He went all the way to Western Conference Finals, and this guy is an ultra competitor. So forget about it. Like, if he gets like some legitimate help, then like Golden State doesn't surprise me too much. You could think it, to the average person, you could think it could be like that, but they're technically kind of set for years. Like they did great, they had great management, and everybody's just healthy. So
Yeah, that's all. Like that's always the H word, health.
healthy, yeah.
Health. If you stay healthy, you're gonna be. You can go one way or the other if you're healthy.
But that's a key thing, right? It's
Yeah,
like that's what it is. It's almost like just like how we had mentioned before, even I'm sure like in a previous podcast, and then I think it just goes in overall in general, even more so probably with football, is just the healthiest team wins. So because everyone kind of has somewhat of a legitimate shot, in a sense, as long as you're. And then basketball obviously is a game of matchups, but at the end of the day, if you're like, this Miami and Boston series, if you ask me, could have been very different if Hero was maybe 100%.
yeah.
Because then if you really think about it, Boston and like when it comes down to Boston and Miami, Boston at the end in Game 7 was technically the healthiest. Like even though Robert Williams wasn't that much of a factor, but they were still able to switch off and have like Al Horford at center. At the end of the day, though, they had the available pieces to make adjustments.
Well, I'll say, and I think for me, I've been saying it throughout these podcasts that we've been doing about the NBA, about the NBA playoffs. That Miami, I knew Miami was a good team, and if had Miami gotten to the finals, it wouldn't have shocked me. But
Yeah,
I never like I wasn't scared for any team to say, okay, oh no, we have to go into Miami.
yeah. I mean,
That was
it's
like
not
my
ultra scary. You're
yeah,
right. It's not like that menacing.
yeah.
Jimmy
So
Butler did put on a good show, though.
yeah, I
And
mean that Game 6 performance that they had, like I remember everyone calling it was like, oh, it's series is over. The series is over. They forced that Game 7 in their building,
mm,
and I think that the health just got them. I think they put everything out on the line in games. Well, Miami did
mm-hmm.
in that Game 6, and then I guess they just ran out of gas in Game 7.
I couldn't agree more, man. Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. Like that's one thing. Running out of gas, and then you really do. It's like giving. We also got to give credit to where it's due for Boston, the Celtics, that team, how it's like put together, their coach, everything. Because like I said, I wouldn't have thought. I really just didn't think they were gonna. I knew there was a possibility, obviously in the playoffs, but to make it all the way to the finals now, like that's really impressive. Their defense, extremely impressive. Team defense, impressive. Jason Tatum too, defensively
Well,
impressive.
I think we both agree Jason Tatum's kind of emerged as a superstar now.
Yeah, every series
And
by series
yeah,
at this point. Yeah,
but I mean, if you just look at the superstars that they had to take care of thus far, Boston, in the first round they had to deal with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, then Giannis in the second round,
yeah.
and now Jimmy Butler. I don't know if Jimmy Butler is quite on the level.
Yeah, not necessarily,
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, they still face. I personally, I would say, just for you, when you mentioned Brooklyn, that was probably their hardest. I thought still,
yeah,
like hands down, like who they're facing and playing. Brooklyn would have been still the hardest, on a defensive end versus Brooklyn's offense. But they got it done. So then, yeah, like it's only been, you can't really say about Butler's necessarily that, but that team was still a really good team. I guess though, because it's a really good team, you need all your pieces. Though that's where it kind of switches off. Like Hero is a big help. They don't have Hero, then they're missing a lot. I mean, 6 man of the year, right? Six
yeah.
man of the year. Obviously, you need it.
I mean, just looking at the series, I think we all thought it was going to go deep. I don't think we
Yeah.
all no one thought it was going to go 4 or 5 games,
No.
but it went 7. Like I said, I just think Miami just ran out of gas in Game 7 after they had to put on a performance of their life going into Boston and winning in Boston. And Boston's not an easy place to play. Those fans are they're like New York fans. They're rabid.
Very. No. Very. Yeah.
They're
They're intense for sure.
yeah. They'll
Super intense.
they'll hurt your feelings with some
They
of the things they'll
will.
say. So
They're about it out there.
yeah.
That's
So
another level of loyalty.
yeah. So I mean, here they are. They're in the Boston's now in the NBA Finals, and I mean, their franchise had such a storied history, winning a lot of championships. I don't know what's the
17.
17. There you go.
17 since the 50s up to now. So you could
Mhm.
say I kind of did the math earlier today.
Mhm.
So, like, if you want to kind of average it out, you could say they get a championship every 4.5 years or so.
Wow.
Space it out like that. That's
Yeah.
really impressive.
And what that means is that you keep every 4 years. I mean, that's
I mean, average
yeah,
obviously doesn't happen every
yeah,
4 years.
no,
They got
yeah, right,
Bill
right,
Russell won probably how many in a row? You know what I
yeah.
mean? So, but yeah, 17. So they get one more, then they break that tie. I believe it's tie. They're tied with the Lakers franchise wise.
I think you got to give that credit to their, I guess, their culture because you can make the case that when they brought in the what probably was the original. I know everybody has a big three now or tries to get a big three, but they were like the original big three with Pierce and Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. Even though they only won the one championship,
Mhm.
but that's like the blueprint now. Everybody wants a big three,
Yeah, for the most
So
part. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, I see that. I see that. I can say that I would definitely first off say and just touch on what you just said about their management. Yeah, you have to give Boston like overall team basketball management a ton of credit at this day and age, right? A
yeah,
ton of credit. Especially since you got to look at it like this, because I know a lot of people aren't thinking about this, but I am. Some of my, I would say people that I know deeply will know why, but specifically, if you really think about it, Boston trying to engineer a team around Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, and like someone else at first, right? Like if you really if you really remember, like
yeah,
they made adjustments, especially with the picks that they got, because they end up getting picks I think via trades. Danny Ainge did an amazing job to do that, I think, so that he could technically take a step back and kind of rebuild the roster, where then he can have a player like Tatum, Jalen Brown, Smart, like a young nucleus, and Smart's huge for them. I feel like Smart's going to be a Celtic for life. Like,
yeah.
do you
I
like
really
that
I
game?
really like him. I really like him as a player.
What
Yeah,
game was that? I forget what game number it was, but it was a game in Boston where it was like a movie. I'm talking about like everybody was getting injured and dropping and then coming back, and then game
yeah,
where they were running, like Marcus Smart came back out and everyone, it was like wrestling. It was like like the Garden went crazy,
Mhm.
right? So like
Yeah,
everybody, it wasn't just Smart. Tatum got hurt, came back, I think, right? A couple other players got hurt. I think Butler. I
yeah,
think that was a game Butler. I think did go out though, right? But something
yeah.
at the end of the day, though, I'm just saying, like they engineered a well. It's a well-oiled machine. These teams are not necessarily. If you ask me, it shouldn't necessarily just be superstars. Yes, you can get like three players or like three really good players, but it's really like, if you really look at Boston, like are they really superstar studded? No. Like they have Tatum, they have Brown. You can say that those are like their bigger offensive threats. But then after that, it's like guys that really handle all these other intangibles and do all these other things. Like Marcus Smart, especially. Marcus Smart and Steph Curry is going to be very interesting to watch.
Well, I want to touch on a quick point that you made about the draft
Yeah,
picks
yeah.
that they got, and those draft picks probably came from Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't remember. Probably, yeah.
Yeah,
It's probably from that deal, yes,
from that
because
deal
that
from
was
the
a deal to swap. Because then I remember Brooklyn trying to get, yeah, they had Garnett, they got Garnett and Pierce, and
yeah,
that's when they had like Joe Johnson and Darren Williams and
there,
all
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I
I
remember,
remember
yeah,
that.
Brooke Lopez at center. Yeah, so all right, yeah, I
Yeah,
remember though. Yeah, so that
yeah,
that was those picks are from the Nets. So I mean,
yeah.
like, I guess like okay, everybody wants superstars on their team, for marketing with the teams and your ticket sales and all that. But if you look at the way Boston's done it, I mean, Boston's kind of had a winning culture for a very long time now.
That's it. That's it. It's
You
just
know,
oozing culture.
yeah,
That's what it is. So it's like I said, are they a star-studded team? No, they're not. It's really not. It's just really about having the right team, the right players, like that, and then therefore that winning culture. They always push that through. Like I find it very impressive for them to be in the finals right now.
yeah.
That
So
alone,
that
that alone is a large feat, and especially with their this is the first year that he's coaching, right?
yes, that is. This
This
is
is
his
his
first year.
first
Yeah,
year because last year Brad Stevens was still coaching, right?
yeah.
So this is also Brad Stevens technically his first year in this position. So yeah, no, That's all. They got a vision. At the end of the day, they're making it happen. I would say.
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing you can say, like with like modern sports, and this is like every, like, it's like the culture down all the way from, like, if you have a good culture in your front office, and that comes on to, the players, you'll be a good team. You have to develop that culture, and teams that just want to throw pieces together. Oh, we'll get this guy, give this guy all the money to come play for us, but they don't build that
No,
culture together. You know, and since we're talking. Look at what their Boston's opponent has been able to build.
man, I was
Mhm.
really actually, I was actually analyzing the roster from like a salary standpoint just the other day, just because I just wanted to know how much Wiggins was making, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, let me tell you, like I mean, I already applaud Golden State in terms of their management for a long time now, especially since the whole Steph Curry era and that when that began, and but more so when they really started to win and stuff. But when you really look at it, like they've locked in some like generational talent, but as well as like a deep core of this team where like if you look at it right now, they're in the finals and they're not really fully healthy. When I say that is because they got this pick because their best players got hurt, and this guy is still not playing yet. James Wiseman, like I mean, he played a bit, but he hasn't played that much overall since he's been picked, right? So he's also like a perfect piece for them, like going forward, especially at center. Because I mean, look what they're doing right now with Kevin Looney at center. I mean, no, disrespect to Kevin Looney, but I'm just saying, like he's just a solid center. So when it comes to management, man, like they're ready. They're basically ready to carry this on as far as they can, at least for as long as Steph Curry can shoot threes. Like and Klay Thompson, obviously.
oh
So
yeah. I mean, you can't forget Clay Thompson, and
yeah.
also emergence of Jordan Poole.
Poole, yeah, for sure.
On the
I mean, I'll
team.
be
Yeah.
real. The reason why I didn't mention Poole is because I think Poole's gonna end up wanting his money, and I don't know if he's gonna like they can. I don't know if they can end up affording him because that's why I mentioned even when I looked into salary, Steph Curry's got a obviously an escalating max contract. Like by the end of his contract, like his very last year, he's gonna be making 60 million in 1 year. So like same thing like with Klay Thompson is going to be making a good chunk of money. Wiggins, Draymond too. So as much as I know I love Jordan Poole. I mean, I just only reason I just say that I just think the guy should go get his bag. You know,
Yeah, I think I
yeah,
think because it's also the NBA is also a cap sport. So
yeah.
is Golden State going to be able to keep him to afford him?
That's what I'm saying. That's the
Yeah,
one guy I think they're not going to be able to afford. I don't. I
yeah,
personally think I really think Golden State's core is going to stay together. I don't know. I don't like. I consider Wiggins part of the core. I think he's a perfect player. I don't know necessarily if he would stick around, but like I guess the real core is Steph, Clay, Draymond. Like this trio. Like though, I think these guys are going to stay together. Like like for however long they can. That's my opinion. I don't know. I see Golden State trying their best to do that.
so let's get into it. Let's get into the
Yeah.
series. Actually, let's talk a little
Yeah.
some matchups. I know you alluded to one earlier, Marcus Smart and Steph Curry. I mean,
Very interesting.
do you think Smart's going to hold him down?
Like that's the thing because this is a series where I feel first off I feel just in general for Steph Curry like this is an opportunity for him to I would say like really solidify himself if he is thinking about it that way. I'm not sure if he does. I'm not sure if these athletes get into that train of thought or if it's just championship or die. But this is an opportunity for him to solidify himself for Finals MVP, and then because he has all the other accolades. Obviously, he's won championships. He could be at finals. However, he has, probably, he is obviously the defensive player of the year in the NBA this year. As a point guard, I think the last time a guard got that was Peyton. We did mention that the glove, right? Was it the
Yeah,
glove? Yeah. So yeah, that's a big feat. You already know that means he can do pretty much anything on defense. He can switch, obviously, even to like bigger players. So that's huge. His length and all those dynamics are going to be something that can really stop Steph Curry from being
really great. But I don't know how much. I've seen in this last series against Miami how Marcus Smart was a bit unhealthy, not necessarily at least fully healthy, or they were saying he was playing to a certain percentage of health, whatever. So if he isn't maybe at his 100, he would have to be at 100% really, or he would have to be, I would say, at his best, because you have to really stay on a guy like Steph Curry, right? You can't pretty much like I think Marcus Smart's probably the best guy to maybe press him all the way halfway up the court though, right? To maybe so that's the thing. Like Steph Curry, who is Steph Curry really matched up against this whole? Who's his worst matchup thus far, or defensively? I think about it the whole way through. Let's see, because Golden State played Dallas, right? Who's gonna lock Steph Curry there? And they played Denver. Who's gonna lock Steph Curry there? And like Memphis, like so this is his toughest matchup. So that's why I say it's interesting, because we can see what he's really made out of, especially in this type of spotlight, to come back and winning another championship after being injured. Getting his team back together. It's a big thing. So I think that's the one specific matchup to really watch anyway. That's just my opinion when it comes to that.
Also, I mean, he's Steph Curry, so everybody's going to be,
Of course.
every year. So
Of course, everybody's gonna
Yeah.
be like, he's like must see TV.
yeah,
But I really think Marcus Smart, as long as he's really about it, which he usually is, he's gonna be all up on him. So this is where it get pretty entertaining,
Like-
maybe even a little physical.
like I think the not the the diehard basketball fans, but like the people who only pay attention when it's playoff time, right?
Yeah.
I think they obviously know the uniform of the Boston Celtics, but I don't think they really know the players,
No,
because these aren't really like household names like a Steph Curry is,
yeah,
Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. Like those are the
Yeah.
stars.
most popular player obviously probably for them would be Tatum at this point.
But I mean, you got Robert Williams. You got we keep mentioning Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum.
Those guys are really good
Yeah.
players.
Really good players, absolutely. So I think
Derek White. Let's also, he stepped up some time, time to time, especially in that last series. Like he could definitely be an X factor. Golden State's gonna have Gary Payton the second back, I believe. Right?
Okay, so
I
that's
think
I mean that's a huge. I
so
mean,
they're gonna have I'm just
Yeah.
saying though, just talking about both teams. Like he got injured.
yeah,
Playoffs, I'm sure some may remember, some may not, but he'll definitely be back. I just mentioned it. Sorry.
like no, that's so totally fine. No, just to reiterate, I mean, we know the Celtic legacy. Larry Bird. One of the we mentioned some of their recent stars like Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, in their last championship, Ray Allen.
Yeah.
They tried to build around, like you said earlier, Gordon Hayward and Kyrie. That didn't quite pan out so well. Kyrie's gone, Gordon's gone, but they built kind of like a new nucleus now. But it's not the star-studded. Like even Kyrie, I think they had a name. Like Kyrie is one of the, Kyrie is a name, but they don't have those like name players. They have, to me, it's the legacy.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
The legacy, you're gonna say.
Yeah, it's the legacy of the Boston Celtics. I think that's what's everyone's gonna like. Okay, we know what they've done in the past. What's this new group gonna do? Versus a Golden State team that's if they weren't injured last year, they probably would have went to the finals again. But they were so injured they didn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the year before that it was the Lakers who won the championship.
Yeah.
That was the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, COVID year.
Yeah, the bubble.
Bubble.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then they won. No, they lost that championship to Toronto. That was the 2019. They lost to Toronto.
Yeah, 2019 they lost to Toronto. That was like their last legit shot. I mean, and also they lost players, like KD, Klay, right? They both went down, right?
Yeah, then they had obviously the injury plague season.
Yeah.
But Steph was in,
where Steph, that was the season where basically they were already without Klay because Klay got hurt in the finals. So because of that, best case scenario, he comes back if they make the finals, right? The next year, right? Because it takes that long to recover. And then KD obviously signed elsewhere. But Steph, yes, then Steph. But think about it. Even if Steph was by himself, maybe they go to the playoffs or something, right? At the end of the day, they get best case scenario. They get a pick out of it, like
Yeah.
where they got this guy. Like I said, he's just chilling. You don't even know really what he could do right now with this team. When So I personally, Kendrick Perkins said something on ESPN. I try not to. I'll be real. I try not to watch these guys too much because that type of sports media. There's just so much like I don't know back and forth that I feel they have to do. And but Kendrick Perkins, he said something about like how he thinks that this is the best chance for Golden State to win a championship like right now because he doesn't think they're going to be able to win one after this year. Like that their window's pretty much closing after this year. And at first when I heard that, I kind of resonated with it where I felt like initially I kind of agreed, but then I really thought about it. I have to disagree because I mean, granted, Steph Curry he's not old. We can't say he's old yet. He's still productive and efficient, right? I guess maybe some of these guys in media are quick to go to say maybe some guys are starting to get old. However, like I looked at the stats when I even looked at the salaries and stuff some more too. Like they have their core locked in for however at least good few years, and as well as a center that's not even playing yet. So I don't even I can't say they're done or would be done after this year. I think if anything, this could be the beginning of another dynasty. If you think about it, or not dynasty, but you know what I mean, like another set of repeating. It's very possible. I don't know if you
Yeah,
see
no,
that.
absolutely. Uh, what I feel about Golden State is that they currently are the dynasty
Yeah,
in the
I
NBA.
feel like
Yeah,
they easily got forgotten that they were a
yeah.
dynasty. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, they beat. I know LeBron got them once in the finals, but they were able to
Yeah, those
get
guys,
it.
those guys
Yeah,
got to be happy. Those guys who got them in the finals got to be happy, meaning
yeah.
LeBron and Kawhi.
Kawhi, yeah,
Like Kawhi got his outside of the San Antonio. That's got to be beyond self gratifying for him, right? Same for LeBron because he got his for Cleveland. You know, so but if you really think about it, as long as they're really healthy and the core is still there, they can maybe supplement other players for the most part, certain other players, but they'll figure it out. Steph Curry really could, like I said, really could be a big stamp for himself here, but as well as just really kind of carry things on for him for when he was winning before. It's very possible.
well, I think Steph and Clay now are in the area where you're not going to see them maybe play back to backs anymore.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, no more. They're going to have maintenance days. They're just going to, if they're playing a lesser team, they're probably going to get the night off. A team they can beat without Steph,
Yeah,
or
why
at
not?
least,
I
yeah. I
see.
think,
I see that. Like, I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of. I mean, I don't know. I'm still kind of wavered on, or at least like back and forth on the idea of like maintenance days. But yes, I do also do believe in he's getting older. However, I gotta say that this got me thinking even more, and I'm thinking about Steph Curry as he's getting older. And I'm thinking Steph Curry is definitely going to be like one of those players like Ray Allen. Like he's still going to be able to shoot.
yeah.
So like
Hmm.
as long as he's still able to shoot, like he may not be able to get around and do certain things and maybe penetrate in the ways that he did, but as long as he can still get around certain screens and get open, forget about it. Like he's probably still going to be useful for a long time. You know.
I think that's an awesome comparison. Very comparable. But I think
Mm.
I would say he's maybe even a better version of Ray
Oh
Allen.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I guess I say it because Ray Allen's probably
yeah,
the last guy I've seen that's just to be a straight up spot up shooter at the end
shooter.
of his
Yeah, yeah,
career and still be very effective, right? Like still be very effective.
yeah.
So yeah, like I'm thinking about that's what it is. Like I'm thinking about Steph Curry getting older. I'm thinking that's what I'm seeing. You know?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, when you look at this team, I mean, we're talking about oh, they're going to need rest days if you want to continue, but there's not going to be much rest for them in these finals. I know
Nah,
they got a big break, actually only winning in 5 games, so they got kind of all that time off
indeed.
before game one of these NBA finals, whereas Boston had to play 7 games to beat Miami. So, let me ask you this: do you think that's going to be a factor?
Definitely. Because at the end of the day, I see Golden State as the favorite.
Yeah,
So with Boston,
with Boston in a sense having the lesser load for resting, especially with like I said, these guys were Marcus Smart and Robert Williams. I don't think are necessarily 100%. So that's definitely going to factor in. From what I'm at least looking at for this series, I think it's definitely going to create some problems. At least if it may, you know.
Well,
So, sorry, what were you gonna say?
no, what I was going to say is, well, it's always that argument versus, rest versus rust. That's always the argument that, do you want the rest or do you want to, does the rest make you rusty?
I mean, it's possible. Who knows? Maybe because of that, Golden State could drop the first game. But
Yeah.
at the very most, that's what I would expect. Not to say that I think Golden State's gonna like sweep them, but it's just really more so that
Yeah, like
who knows? It might take them out. It might take them a little bit. It might maybe put them or get them off of their toes for maybe that first game. Who knows?
I can totally see that happening, to be honest. Because that to me, that does happen a lot when there's a team that just can't, like, that game 7 was on, this past Sunday. So Boston would have had, 3 days of rest? Would have had
Golden State
Monday,
had, like,
Tuesday,
a
Wednesday.
week and change.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I can totally see that because even though when you're practicing, you're not practicing at game speed. So
Yeah.
that's in any sport. When you practice, you go half, maybe half of what you would go in the game. So Golden State hasn't played that speed yet, up to that speed yet, and hasn't seen what they're going to see against Boston. Because let's don't count the Celtics out.
Definitely not. I'm definitely not. I mean, at this point, I can't say like you can say I'm making my pick, but at the end of the day, or more so, speaking in what I see. But at the end of the day, I know for sure that like, from this whole process of doing podcasts with you, I can't count them out.
Yeah.
There was only one series I picked them to win. Otherwise, they should have been gone a long time ago for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we made that pick because we thought Brooklyn was a lot better. And
Yeah.
we both picked Brooklyn in the first round to win because we all thought Brooklyn was going to perform better, but they didn't. And then we just kept saying, no, they can't beat Kyrie and KD. They're not going. They did. No, they're not going to be Giannis. They did. So and then I think it was more of an even fair shot. I don't think we overlooked them in those conference finals. But telling anybody, don't. This could be a long series as well. Even last year's finals. Everyone thought, oh, Phoenix got out to that 2-0 lead. Okay, series is over. The series is over. Phoenix is going to win the championship. And then it turns out.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I lose you?
Wow. Siri was listening, apparently. Okay. Yeah.
Or did I lose you?
Wow. I was talking. Yeah. Why you gotta be kind of mindful of what you're saying sometimes. I was talking about the NBA finals. I was talking about the NBA finals here, and Siri just popped up on my laptop. Yeah, so that's, I got startled for a minute there, but I'm good now. Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're going to hear it on the recording or not, but that's what happened there.
Nah, definitely didn't hear it in the background.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, even if I don't think I can see a split, I can see after 4 games, I think it's 2-2.
Possible.
Yeah. So I mean that's I don't see. I think we're not. No, Boston's not going to sneak up on anybody right now.
Not at this point. At the end of the day, you got basically the two best teams, arguably, obviously, right? So, you can't take anything from anyone, so, or away from anyone. So, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Boston wins it all, obviously. But, I still think that even with the rest, with the rest accounted for, I still think Golden State's riding a tight ship over there. So,
I mean, Boston, coming up with this stat after 50 games this year, Boston was 25-25, and like nowhere near looking like a team. They were like in that playing, that playing group, the 7 to 10 there, and they didn't look like they were gonna. They didn't look like a champion, like they were gonna win the East at that point. And look at the way they turned it around. After that point, they went on, got the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they're absolutely red hot. And you can't count them out. I know we want to go with the talking about legacy, but the recent legacy of Golden State being so dominant, being in these finals. It seems like they're there. Since last 2 years they weren't in the finals, obviously, but 2019 they were there in Toronto against Toronto.
Yep.
And you're looking at the year, it was the Lakers and the Heat. Then we had Phoenix and Milwaukee last year. I think this is going to be a very interesting finals, man. Like, it's not you're not looking at one team here. It's not going to be one sided. All these games are going to be tough. The only one I could kind of see Golden State coming out being a little rusty in Game 1. I think Boston's got to take advantage of that because they always say if you're the road team, you got to steal one of those first 2 games to kind of get.
I mean, yeah, you really want to try to. Yeah, I mean, if you want to break it down like that, yeah, it only makes sense, right? Because you're. I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to win. But yeah, of course, you're gonna have to basically take some of those or one of those road games in order to do so. So, but the thing is with Boston, for me, I think Boston matches up quite well with Golden State. I think this is a great overall matchup when you look at each player who may potentially be defending them, even off of switches and stuff like that. Boston has played small with Al Horford. Al Horford's been waiting for this. I'm sure he looks like he's been ready. Very underrated player, man. I think he's definitely gonna do what he got to do, for them. But I still, besides like Steph Curry, let's just say if Marcus Smart does his best job against Steph Curry, then I still think that Klay Thompson could really have a large impact here. I think he's ready for that at this point. After everything, I think he's already shown that he can kind of really go out there and kind of get his buckets like how you normally would. And then Jordan Poole too. I think Jordan Poole is really going to be like, as you mentioned him before, but I just think in general he's going to be like a large X factor in general for like this whole series. Because him just coming off the bench, or even whether he starts or comes off the bench, his production and some of the other players that can come off the bench for Golden State, I think is what's really going to like make the difference. Like Draymond Green, forget about it. Like I just already mentioned him. Like I think he could easily be a neutralizer. Tatum's going to have his games, but Draymond, he's just he's think about it. Draymond's more than likely going to be on Tatum.
So let's say okay. Yeah. So does Tatum have to go off for Boston to win?
I don't think he necessarily has to go off because I think Tatum really has an all-around game at this point. Like he obviously wants and should be this type of, I'm a leading scorer. I'm going to take care of carrying like my team and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, he can very much facilitate. He could do a lot of things, set things up, and cause problems. So he doesn't have to. I don't think he has to like go off, drop like 30 plus at night to win. I think he just needs to like be more like, not that they aren't, but just be more like Golden State in the sense where like you spread it at the right time, to the right players. I think it's really going to be a chess match out there for both teams, like really making the right decision on every play. Not only minimizing turnovers, but really more so like it really comes down sometimes to like just not only just making the right pass to the right player, not going in the wrong spot or spacing, like I think it's really could come down to like all of that. So I think Tatum could do it off with his passing, even like, he could get to the right players at the right time because he's gonna cause or he's gonna draw a lot of attention. And Jaylen Brown is a huge helper. Like, I've seen that this whole playoffs, how much Jaylen Brown has like really helped in general. Jaylen Brown has obviously had his games too, right? Like, think about it. Like, especially even against Miami, he's definitely hurt me in a couple bets. I bet the under.
Yeah. But
Well,
like nah, he still went, he still went off. Like you so Jalen Brown, I actually was surprised 'cause I really thought Miami at least had some players that could maybe at least stop Jalen Brown, but maybe not. He was really just going to the paint at will some games.
well,
So
here's something I thought about, and I want to present this question to you.
yeah.
Do you think Boston? It's possible that Boston could kind of be the moment gets too big for them.
Uh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think I think they're all like ready for this. Like Boston in general, like even Tatum, like they're all ready for this. They're ready to be here, and especially like I mentioned, Al Horford. Like,
Hmm.
nah, I don't think the moment will get too big for them. I think what could happen is, he is a stellar of a defense that they have. I think there could be moments where they realize, like, man, Golden State's really good because Golden State, like Golden State could be down 18 points. That's really not a problem for
Yeah.
them. It's really
Hmm.
not. Like it's really not. Like you need to see them down. Golden State will be discouraged if maybe they're down by like I don't know 30 plus or something. That's how far you got to take them on the lead because in the end of the day, this game is strictly runs. Yes, and Golden State's gonna go on a run. You're gonna go on a run. Golden State's gonna go on a run. You're gonna go on a run. But the way that they can execute so quickly, so fast, and as well as obviously shoot threes, that 18-point lead is nothing. They could demolish that in literally like a minute, probably. Well, not a minute, but maybe a little slight exaggeration. 2 minutes, that's
Give
gone. You know,
it an extra
so
minute. Yeah, why
yeah,
not?
yeah, extra minute, two
Extra
minutes,
minute. Two
2 minutes.
minutes.
Seriously, they'll evaporate that lead in two
Yeah, I mean,
minutes.
yeah.
So
If
and as great as a defense or a defensive team is, at the end of the day, you're still going to give up runs. You're going to make mistakes. So it's about minimizing those. That's the only way. Is in a sense, Boston has to be perfect against Golden State. Like they got to
yeah,
be
like
perfect.
I'm not going to. I mean, obviously, I mean the core of this Golden State team has been here before. They won championships, so I mean, if the
Yeah.
moment's too big for them, then there's a big issue there.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm
definitely, definitely not. No, Steph.
yeah,
And they're ready. Of course,
yeah,
they're ready. Like Steph's ready. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure Steph's looking at this like about to get that fourth ring.
So hey, no, another question. Everyone's talking about Steph's legacy. You know, does that fourth ring kind of put him in the upper echelon now, or
Well, I don't think it's necessarily the number, but I think it's the fact that he just gets another ring now without KD. Because technically, before this or right now at this very point, majority of his rings you can say come from KD being on his team. And I'm not saying that he's not a part of it. It's just at the end of the day, like KD was the best player, as duly noted in those series, right?
yeah?
So it's really more up to Steph, right? Yeah, how he sees it, because I don't know. I can speak for myself. Maybe I might be different if I was in his shoes, but if I feel like if I were a player of that caliber, I don't know. I probably wouldn't really care about some of these accolades, but I think though that this is still a perfect opportunity for him to just show that if he wins right now, then he won again with another set of players. Yes, with still Clay and still with Draymond, but it's he didn't need Kevin Durant, right? Or he didn't need what Kevin Durant brings to the table. And then therefore solidify himself too as like the best player this time around. Who knows? It could be someone else. Like I really could be. Who knows? Maybe Clay could end up being like Finals MVP. Maybe even Wiggins. Maybe Iguodala comes back for another like Finals
Hmm.
MVP. Like because he just came out of nowhere and got that one that first time. Remember? So
I
I
mean,
mean,
for me in this series, like nobody in the world doubts that Steph Curry's a great player.
yeah,
So I don't think he needs a fourth to prove his
yeah, exactly. He's
improve
already
for yeah,
he's already made this large impact in the game.
yeah,
Huge, right? So as I said, only if he cares. I think only if he cares. At the end of the day, I
yeah.
think he's still gonna go out there. I think he's still gonna go out there and play lights out for his team. So I think that could create that alone naturally that he's just out here really doing stuff. But it's still at the end of the day too. It just shows that he's still able to do it at this later stage in his career. It just keeps him relevant if it matters to him. Because all these media guys talk about who's the best ever. They still bring up obviously Jordan and whoever's like the best ever all time and all these different comparisons. Obviously there's some players obviously beyond those things.
I think he goes without comparison. Because at the end of the day, he's probably the one legit guy that can shoot it from like almost anywhere in the half court region.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
it's like I said. I think it's the all time legacy with Boston against the new legacy in Golden State. That's to
Yeah.
me what they're building,
Yeah.
what this series is really building about. You know, we know
Yeah.
you mentioned it earlier, 17 championships for the Celtics.
Yeah.
You know, Golden State's been the team with really of the the past decade.
Yeah.
That's they've been the guy, they've been the team, and so it's these two, the modern day legacy against the all time NBA legacy going up in this series. And one team's got all this, to me, the star power. Got the star. Steph Curry is probably, maybe outside of LeBron, probably the biggest star in all the NBA.
Yep.
Maybe KD as well. Maybe ahead of KD. KD's probably in that
If we're
conversation.
talking household name, he's
Yeah.
ahead of KD.
Yeah, I think
Not that
definitely.
KD isn't well
Yeah.
known. It's just he's definitely ahead of KD.
He's definitely ahead of, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably only LeBron, maybe only more popular than Steph Curry, to be honest.
He's the only person arguably that could be more
Yeah.
popular. Steph Curry, I think every kid knows who Steph Curry is.
Everybody wants to shoot, be like Steph.
Yeah.
Not like Mike. We don't want to be like Mike anymore. We want to be like Steph.
Exactly. That's a huge thing. It was like Mike for a really long time.
Yeah.
Now it's like Steph.
So I think it's time, man. Let's make those picks. We've been so great picking these games.
Yeah.
So give me a good breakdown, man. What do you think is gonna happen in this series?
Instantly, I just say Golden State and 6. But yeah, I'm not gonna even say nothing else. Just Golden State and 6. Let's see.
All right. So for me, I think Boston's going to take game 1. I think I think the rust is probably going to play kind of a little bit factor early on in that game, in the game 1. I think Golden State's going to catch up, make their little run, but I think Boston's going to hold on. I think Golden State comes back and I think this is going to be 2-2 after 4, the series, and then it's going to come down to the best of 3. And then I think Golden State, I mean, I don't think it's going to go, I don't really think this is going to go 7. But that would mean Golden State would have to win in Boston. So that's really what it's kind of tricky for me. Because I don't think this series goes less than 6. But Golden State would have to win in 6. Or maybe they say, you know what? We'll give them game 6 and we'll win it in our floor. But I don't think that's where I draw a dilemma in what I'm thinking, because for me it's going to take no more than 6 games for Golden State to win this championship, but that means they're winning it in Boston, and Boston's not an easy place to play. We know that. So
definitely not.
I'm going to go Golden State in 6 as well.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like you're basically going my way.
Yeah.
The same pick.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think it's going 7.
I'm not. Trust me, I hear you on the whole where they're
Yeah.
playing and everything, but that doesn't even matter at this point. I'm just gonna pick.
Yeah, I mean, Golden State was a 3 seed. They won. They won in Memphis. I think they, maybe Phoenix. They would have beaten Phoenix as well. I don't think it really matters yet where they play, whatever seed they are. They just know how to win. Win this championship. Man.
Yeah, especially. I'm glad you brought that up because and they avoided Phoenix. Like I expect them to maybe even play Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals, right? So they avoided Phoenix. I thought that would have been a crazy matchup of them two matching up with each other. So I think this is the prime time. Let's get it. But who knows?
Not yet. Sorry about that.
Oh no, you're right. I thought I interrupted it for a second.
No.
Yeah, all right.
Not yet. So, thoughts. Before we do wrap this up, give me some thoughts. Your thoughts overall on these NBA playoffs so far.
Thoughts overall. Put me on a spot there.
Okay, so let me prompt you with some questions, and then.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, let me prompt you with some questions. Okay. Let's go with the biggest surprise so far for you of something that happened in these playoffs.
Well, like I was saying before, besides I guess besides Dallas,
Yeah, you mentioned Dallas. So okay, something
let's
else that
see.
surprised you.
Well, definitely. I'm sure we could even like kind of. I mean, that's like kind of me talking about, maybe even a couple podcasts before. But yeah, Brooklyn, obviously, that was another surprise in general. I mean, KD. I feel like the reason why I bring up this surprise, even if I may have touched on it before, but more so is I'm just curious how this team's going to shake out right now. Like if they were maybe more successful, this postseason at least, maybe this team doesn't shake out the way it does. I really feel like I don't know. I feel like there could be some changes over there this offseason, like real changes, but who knows? Like things just aren't necessarily mapping out, but they definitely should have, especially from what happened the year before when they played Boston in the general. That's kind of why I even made that pick too, even with them being without Ben Simmons, but who would have essentially been James Harden if he stayed, but whatever. So, that was another, big surprise. I'll be honest, I know Jokic had a great year, and I know it's not necessarily part of the playoffs, but that was surprising to me that he got MVP again.
Yeah, another MVP caliber season from him.
Yeah, it was definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely played even. I mean, if you really just look at it from the pure standpoint of him playing better than he did last year, I can see that. Um, I guess, but I still kind of consider that a surprise. Um, Other than that, I don't know. Like, I really can't say anything else really comes to mind. Those are the things that are just really, surprised me. I mean, I know I'm pretty sure I mentioned, like I said, Dallas is the only thing that really, really got me because I was just like, wow, Luka really got out this far, this early.
So
Um,
I wanted to ask you next about your biggest disappointment, but I think that's
yeah,
probably
that'll
between
be
yeah.
it'll be Brooklyn. No, Brooklyn's
Okay, yeah.
definitely the disappointment. Yeah, like Phoenix is probably a close second, but
Yeah.
Brooklyn is definitely the biggest disappointment.
Oh, I'll tell you the one thing, like if there's one moment that shocked me the most was that game 7, Phoenix and Dallas. Like, did you what a blowout. Like there's no how is
Yeah,
that
that
possible
was
in that
another.
moment?
Yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
definitely coincides. It's the same surprise, but yeah, that's definitely another disappointment and blow and surprise. And just
I think
I can't. I don't even. I wouldn't
yeah.
have been able to fathom even picking anything of that happen. That happening beforehand.
Like I mean we've watched enough sports, I watch everything, cricket, every golf, everything,
Yeah, there you
So
go. That's good.
but like okay, when you're playing any sport, anything can happen in a game 7. So I don't think I would have been a little, but I think what shocked me the most about that game was just the blowout, the way he got blown out. Like, if it was a heartbreaking loss, like, okay, well, at least it was close. Game wasn't even close,
No,
So, I
no.
mean, it was just, that was probably my biggest shocker, aside from Brooklyn, of course. But, the way Brooklyn just kind of, did what to the bed.
I
I don't want to quite use the word.
know.
But yeah, what Brooklyn did to the bed. But okay, so one more question I've been thinking about. So who do you think emerged as the bigger star in these playoffs? John Morant or Jason Tatum?
Well, no, definitely. I mean, it would have to be hands down be Jason Tatum, obviously because of the length of his journey. He's already out here in the finals right now. I mean, John Morant, I think used the season to show, but even still, he didn't even play a lot of the season, just a good chunk though, and even time, the time spent that he played to show how much of a leap I would say he's made. And he did get most improved. Am I correct? Who got most
Yeah,
improved? It was Ja, right?
most
So
improved.
yeah, you can check
I
that
was
real
so,
quick. I
so I
believe it
was
was
I,
him.
I was looking stuff up and then didn't have that page. But I'll tell you what I was looking. I was looking up the 2009 draft,
Okay,
and
2009.
because they're
Okay.
let me find the answer to your question. Who's the most improved this year? And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I was looking up the 2009 draft. So most improved player NBA 22. Okay, so that award went to John Morant.
Yeah.
Most improved. Yeah.
So I'll say that he used the season with his play, highlights, the way he did things in general, to show, his where he's at right now. But Tatum used the playoffs. Not that he wasn't playing. He didn't. He definitely wasn't playing that great in the beginning of the season. Even in like in the middle of the season, he was still playing good. Like I think he was still doing what he needed to do for his team, but probably wasn't the most efficient. Well, however, he definitely just like his team. You can say it pretty much coincides with him is as he started to go up, his team started to go up. Like as he started to get more efficient, his team just simply started to get more efficient. As he just started to play better all around, even defensively, his team started to play better all around defensively. So I would say Tatum definitely uses these playoffs to propel himself to another higher echelon, upper echelon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement. I think John Morant's going to be, he's gonna get to an NBA Finals. He's a very talented young player.
He should.
He'll
Who
get
knows?
there,
You
but
never know. Let's not. They'll jinx him.
yeah.
He should.
I have a
There's a
record
lot
with
of
that.
there's a
I
lot
have a
of
record
players
with
that
that. Yeah.
there's a lot of players that we all could say just based off of that.
Yeah.
Let's not jinx him. That's
Yeah.
what we hope he does.
He good young player.
Yeah. What's up with the 2009 draft though?
So okay. So reason I think you earlier made something about drafting. So I wanted to see where Steph Curry was drafted, and in the 2009 draft. So I've looked up Steph Curry draft. So he was drafted in 2009.
Mhm.
And let me just give you some of the names that were drafted ahead of him.
Sure, I got
So,
it. I got it up right now too. But you can
oh,
go
you
ahead.
have it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
I'm ready for you.
number one pick, Los Angeles Clippers take Blake Griffin.
Yep.
Number two pick, Hashim Thabit, Memphis Grizzlies.
Yep.
Oklahoma City Thunder, James Harden with the 3 pick. Tyreek Evans, Sacramento Kings, the number 4 pick.
He was really good.
Yeah,
I'm just
he
gonna say
absolutely
that.
he was.
Anyone listening that doesn't know who Tyreek Evans, he was really good.
Ricky Rubio, Minnesota Timberwolves with the 5 pick. 6 pick, Johnny Flynn. I don't remember him at all, to be honest. Maybe I don't know if you
I
did, but
I definitely do. I remember this whole draft. Yeah. So
okay.
I
So
watched it vividly.
the number 7 pick was Steph Curry, Golden
You know,
State,
you know.
and being the Knicks fans that we are,
We're gonna mention it. All right, fine.
the,
Go
the
ahead.
New York Knicks had the number 8 pick.
They
So
were okay. They were gonna take Steph Curry. Anyone who doesn't know that now. They were going to take Steph Curry. We were going to take him.
I think that's why I pulled it. I was like, I wanted to pull, but I didn't know that they would have the pick right after. They were like the ninth or
So
10th
I
pick,
mean,
actually.
no, I remember. I remember vividly so much because of the pain that I endured when Golden State took Steph Curry. I was watching the draft, and it basically, there's all these different projections. People are gonna say, yeah, here's a mock draft. This is this idea how it could go down. But for the most part, it was projected that the Knicks were going to select Steph Curry with that 8th pick, and he would be there. So that's why I'll never forget it because it hurts so much.
Oh, man.
And then the Knicks took Jordan Hill. Like they had to take this guy named Jordan Hill, which they didn't have to take him. If we want to even look even further, DeMar DeRozan got
DeMar,
taken
yeah.
with the next pick. So the
The
Knicks
next
could have
pick.
took DeMar DeRozan, but they
They
took
could have.
Jordan Hill.
I
Like
mean, even Brandon Jennings would have been a better pick
yes,
at 10.
even Brandon Jennings. I could look at this
Yeah.
whole draft. Most of these other guys would have been a better pick. But at the end of the
Drew
day, it is
Holiday
what it
went to
is.
all the way at 17, is what I'm seeing
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Jeff
yeah.
Teague was in this draft.
Yes.
I
No, there were some
mean,
good plays. Ty Lawson was actually pretty good too, man. He just ended up
yeah.
just not panning out for himself, but he was still a pretty good player.
I mean,
Darren Collison.
Darren Collison, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, Darren Collison is in here. Let me see who else is in this draft real quick. At least that's a word.
Well, at least they got Todd Gibson eventually.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Taj Gibson. I wouldn't even mention that guy. No, he's not that good. Let's see. There might be a second round zinger. Hold on. Let's see. Is there any really good second round players in there?
Sergio.
I mean, I remember some of these players,
No?
but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
They're not really notable. So like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna see. Hold on, you never know. Oh, Danny Green, he's still in the league. You got to give him credit because he was in the
Okay. Yeah.
second. He was drafted in the second round in 2009. So Danny, I give Danny Green props for that. Everybody
But
else
this
don't know.
clearly was the. I mean, even if you don't get Steph Curry, right? There was still some good picks to be made that ended up being like
Yeah,
real NBA talent.
yeah. No, I mean, one thing about picks, one thing about drafting basketball players is, if you ask me, is where you're drafting them to. Like the team, if that team is there for, I think one of two things, which is like purely their development, like really about like developing this player to its their full potential, or sometimes a player is drafted as an asset, like purely as an asset, but it isn't necessarily projected as that. I think even in management, they're not going to tell you like, yeah, you're an asset, but technically, when you get drafted on a team where, let's say, hey, they already got a really good point guard and you're a really good point guard. So, whoa, what happens, right? So, like, right? So, like, think about it like this. Like Jordan Hill, for instance. Let's talk about Jordan Hill. I mean, a lot of players, like, they have opportunities. Well, let's not talk about Jordan Hill. Let's talk about, let's see. Okay, let's go high, a little higher to the draft. A lot of people are not going to know who this guy is. My man Hashim Thabit.
Hashim, yes, I remember him.
Hashim
Yeah.
Thabit.
Hmm.
So Hashim Thabit was drafted number 2 overall. It'll make more sense when I pick someone who was drafted number 2, because obviously if someone's drafted at number 2, they're expected to be a franchise talent. Would
Yeah.
you say?
I
Right.
mean, for the most part, Blake Griffin was a pretty good player.
Brick Griffin, yes. Brick Griffin is
Yeah.
definitely. He's definitely. I wouldn't say he's a bust, even though he's a number 1
Yeah,
pick.
he
I
was
wouldn't
not a
say he's a
bust.
bust or anything.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
Number 1, it's easy to be a bust at number 1, but I wouldn't say
Yeah.
Blake is a bust. He just maybe just didn't get to win as much. Hashim
Harden.
Thabit.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hashim
Harden.
Thabit.
Yes, Harden. Harden was obviously a great pick, even at 3. I'll be
Yeah.
real. Like at first, I didn't like Harden. I'm sure I mentioned that. Like I didn't like him. Like I just didn't think he would be that great of a basketball player. But yeah, he's still a great number 3 overall pick. But let's talk about Hashim, because Hashim was, like I said, number 2, or we said number 2 overall. 7'2" center. I think he was actually taller than that, but they got him here listed as 7'2". I don't know if they have height on yours on what you're looking at. But this guy was.
No, yeah, mine doesn't have anything. I'd have to
Yeah,
pull
if
up
you
his.
ask me, he was pretty much probably the tall center or the tallest player drafted. Yeah, he was the tallest player drafted in that draft, right? So that's already one thing he has going for him, right?
Yeah.
But then he gets drafted. From what I don't remember I don't really remember exactly what or who was on Memphis's roster at the time. I mean, I remember, if anything, maybe they had like Zach Randolph. They had some bigs, but maybe they needed a center. But then I don't think, goes into the right situation, right? Or even like there's going to be other players who don't go into the right. Johnny Flynn. We were just talking about another player here. You got the Minnesota Timberwolves with their 5th and 6th pick. I think one of them was traded to them anyway. But at the end of the day, they had 2 back-to-back picks. What does Minnesota do?
So they
They
had the
draft
5th.
2 players with this that play the same position. 2 players. That's right there is drafting an asset. Like one of them was an asset. One of them was considered an asset. We don't know necessarily which one, but I think we know which one was probably the most valuable asset now, because Johnny Flynn is not in the league, right?
So Steph Curry won 7. So
yeah, like so all these, it's all about about where these guys go. DeMar DeRozan is by far, it's still a really good player. He went after Steph Curry. He's not obviously not Steph Curry. He's still really good. Drew Holiday too. Drew Holiday all the way at 17. We can get to a whole draft podcast, because trust me, there's a ton of steals in all of these. Guys just got to know how and where to pick them, and the Knicks are true proof of that.
Like for me, I know we always seem to land back on the Knicks every time. I don't know how. But the one thing about the Knicks, they've been bad for so many, like for like almost 2 decades now, right? How have they not gotten a number 1 pick?
No, that's what
at all.
hurts. That's what hurts. The year that they got the pick for Barrett, I thought was gonna probably be the year that we could end up getting number one. I mean, the Knicks literally. I think if I remember correctly, and I have to check. I'm about to just check right now because why not? I could. But I think since the lottery started, I think they were literally like the first team to get like a number one pick. Like, but I believe that was the first year. I could be wrong. I'm gonna check right now. But ever
Like
since then, never again. So that's it,
it's
right? Like never
it's been
again.
like since Patrick Ewing. That's their what was that their last number one pick? Patrick Ewing in the '80s. I mean,
Yeah,
how
Patrick Ewing is the
yeah,
only one. Yeah.
like how have they like that? I don't understand how they've been bad for 20 plus years now. Since they've had a couple like maybe literally two
Let's
good
see.
seasons.
The last time I'm no we got to be legit in terms of where they begin the process of like being a lottery team. So they begin the process of being a lottery, like they don't let go, and they try to continue to compete in the early 2000s. So I would say that they become a real lottery team probably like after the whole Marbury thing collapses, and like all that happens like in the mid 2000s. So you could say
Yeah.
from mid 2000s, maybe like 2005 ish, 2004, 2005 ish or so up to now, about
So
almost 20
about
years,
17,
almost.
18 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been 18 years. But it also in between there, they also had the Carmelo era. So Carmelo era takes them out of the lottery phase. Not to mention when if they may end up trading picks. I'm pretty sure the Knicks made. I think there was some picks traded. I'm sure even in like a Jakim Noah, when they got Jakim Noah, certain situations. I think Phil
Oh,
Jackson might have.
you bringing that up. There's one that just jogs my memory now.
Yeah. So
You're probably gonna.
so they yeah. Go ahead,
Obviously,
remind
there
me.
was the Isaiah era.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Isaiah era was like the beginning of that's when he went and got Marbury and stuff.
yeah.
So that's what I was saying. Like they weren't done competing; they kept trying to compete. But that was also Scott Layden and them trying to continue to compete, like in a way where like they're just trying to get
There,
whatever star they could
there
get.
there's one trade in particular that I totally remember now,
Mhm.
and I don't want to traumatize you with this name, but I may. Eddie Curry.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Remember?
yeah, for
I
sure.
believe when they made the trade to Chicago for him
Picks.
for picks, and
Yep.
they didn't protect that pick. They could have protected it if it
Yeah,
was like a
so there
lottery
we go.
pick.
Yeah, no, you just there you
Yeah,
go. You brought it back for me. Yeah, because I was
yeah,
trying to remember. I was trying to. That's why I meant. That's why I said Jakim Noah, because I remember him being a bull. I guess that was the last bull I thought
yeah.
of. Like, but yes. So it was Eddie Curry deal for sure, and they gave up picks. So when they did suck, they couldn't use them anyway. It was Chicago's picks. If anything, I'm pretty sure Chicago probably, I think, might have either got Jimmy Butler or like one of these players in their young, like, you know, their time. That's because obviously let's not forget, like, the Bulls definitely had that moment. They had like they had Derrick Rose. That team was like
Yeah,
pretty
that team
pretty
would.
sick.
I mean,
Yeah, like
what? I mean, we were talking about staying healthy earlier. I mean, could you if Derek Hose, Freudian slip, I guess there. No, but could
that's
you
hilarious.
imagine if Derek Rose was able to stay healthy?
Oh yeah, no, no, forget about it.
It would probably one of the greatest.
Who knows,
You
man?
know,
Hopefully, who knows? Maybe he could still write a
yeah,
story. Good
yeah.
end for a story.
No, hopefully he does it with the. And if he's going to do that, do it with the Knicks, please.
Yes, yes.
You know,
I hope so.
please.
I
you
I
know,
think so. We'll see.
but I mean, if that guy, I mean, former MVP. I mean, if that guy could have stayed healthy, oh my, what a talent he was.
Since there's only so much basketball we could talk about after this, you want to talk about
Yeah,
what the Knicks might end up doing at the draft?
absolutely. Well, that's a good question. What are we going to talk about next? Because the summer is usually a only as soon as baseball. It's the baseball season, so you can only
True.
talk so much baseball. But there is going to be the draft, so we can definitely talk about the draft. Maybe do like an overall draft show.
Yeah, we should. Why not? Because I mean, the
Yeah,
draft is definitely. I mean, before you know it.
they're going to be drafting.
Yeah.
So they will. If I remember correctly,
Like the later this, because today is June 1st, so
yeah, if I remember
later on.
correctly, it should be like towards this, like the second. It should be somewhere in the second half of this month.
Yeah,
So yeah, that definitely could be what we can talk about next. We definitely do want to talk
Yeah.
about some prospects or certain players. Obviously, if you want to talk about home teams, who they could end up taking, I think that could be.
oh, yeah, absolutely. Definitely talk about the draft and draft history in general.
Yes.
I love
Yes.
sometimes when I'm going through the TV, I'll come across NBA TV, and they'll show like 1980 something drafts and like the early 1990s drafts, like where you kind of knew like there was just like a player at like every single position, like because the college athletes were playing till their senior year. Now they're freshman year and they're out.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
draft
like
time.
I like watching those drafts actually, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they are. I'll be, draft time is a good time. I mean, something I don't really think about how much I really do. I mean, I obviously it's more, or it makes more of an impact when the Knicks kind of suck more. Not that they don't suck right now, but more so that, like, you know what I mean, like, or at least the teams that you want, like, to get those higher picks. You want, you're obviously anticipating who they're going to take or whatever. But I used to even watch. I used to just sit down. Even when I won't forget. I was a kid. I had a Sega Dreamcast, so I used to play a lot of NBA 2K, like original OG 2Ks.
Yeah,
And those 2Ks, you could like create a player, not like how you create my player now, but like just create a player, put him in the game.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
So
yeah,
I used to create
definitely.
rookies. Like I went that hard. So like I would watch the draft. Like I remember I was watching the draft where it was the same draft where Eddie Curry got drafted. It was a draft where it was like Curry and like Pau Gasol, Tyson Chandler.
I remember.
All those.
Yeah.
So I remember
Eddie Curry.
remember putting them all in the game like right after the draft was done. I made them all like 99s, like or whatever, like just because I was a kid. But yeah, at the same time, like it's kind of it's still it's exciting, but it's also something that I think it's a pivotal moment. You see a lot of things happen. There's sometimes I think this draft could be kind of like how some were before, where there might who knows, there could be a lot of movement, could be a lot of trades going around. They say that the draft isn't full of immense talent, but that it's spread out in talent in a sense, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things we could probably touch on, especially on the history. It could be there's a lot of fun things we could talk about.
So you made me curious now. I had to check the Eddie Curry draft. Let me give you some names here.
Oh, let's go. I'm with it. I'm ready. What year was that again? Just so I can
this
look
is
at
2001.
All right, cool. Yeah, so
number one pick.
Mm-hmm.
We all know this name.
Yep.
The center for the Washington Wizards, Kwame Brown.
Yep.
So, and if you watched anything on Michael Jordan may have ran this guy out of the league. With, yeah. Number two pick, another pretty good center. Tyson Chandler, who had a pretty decent NBA career.
Yes, decent.
Then you had Pau Gasol, drafted by the Atlanta Hawks,
and then traded.
Traded
to the a lot of trades that night too. Yeah. That night, tons of trades. Yeah.
And then our boy Eddie Curry coming in at fourth to the Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
Jason Richardson. I vaguely remember Jason Richardson. Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, Shane Butler. You vaguely remember Jason Richardson?
Yeah, like for some reason I'm thinking of someone else. I know I am.
He slam dunk champ, Jason Richardson.
Oh.
He's a slam dunk champion. That was his highlight.
That was a highlight? Okay.
Yeah, that was his highlight, but yeah.
Shane Battier, out of Duke. Went to the Vancouver Grizzlies. Wow. Okay. Shane Battier, he was a good college player, actually.
Definitely. And that's another thing. You see, like he was an incredible college player, but just a superb role player in the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah. He played on those LeBron teams that won in Miami, didn't he?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Superb role player. Yeah. Nothing wrong with being superb.
Eddie Griffin, power forward, New Jersey Nets, traded to Houston. Okay. Desagana Diop from Senegal.
Desana. Yeah, I think it's Desana. But
Desana Diop.
Diop.
Okay, center out of Senegal. Cleveland Cavaliers at number 8. Number 9, Rodney White went to Detroit. Joe Johnson, of course.
Joe. I was waiting for you to bring up Joe.
Boston Celtic, number 10 pick. Kedrick Brown, 11.
Yeah, he was all right. Vladimir Radmanovic, he was all right.
I remember him, yeah.
RJ
Richard
on
Jefferson.
ESPN now.
You know what? If you like, one thing about Richard Jefferson, I've noticed it. I don't know if you're on TikTok or not, but like if you mention him in a video on TikTok or something like that, he actually will respond to you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of maybe shooting him a message because I do follow him on TikTok.
Let's get him on
RJ,
the
yeah, you want to hop on RJ real quick, you know? Yeah, he does. He responds to you on So maybe who knows? Maybe in a future podcast we'll have Richard Jefferson, former NBA. I don't even think he made an All-Star team, but former NBA player Richard Jefferson.
I think Richard Jefferson did make an All-Star team. Let's see. I'll tell you right now.
He was traded to New Jersey, and I know he played in the finals with those Jason Kidd teams.
Oh crap! You're right.
Yeah.
He might not have made an All-Star team.
I know he definitely got to the finals.
Yes. No, yeah. I definitely remember that for sure. I just, I'll be honest. I thought he at least made one. Like maybe even if like a player got hurt or something, he was able to like sub in. Because his best year on New Jersey, he averaged 23 points. That's really not bad. Yeah.
So let's see. Let me give you so Richard, Troy Murphy.
Yeah, go ahead. Troy Murphy was really good too.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Troy Murphy went to Golden State.
Yep.
There's Stephen Hunter, Orlando Magic, Kirk Haston.
Definitely starts to drop off, but there is one good player left. That's Zach Randolph. He was really good. Zach Randolph was probably the best out of this bunch, outside of RJ. After Joe Johnson.
Jason Collins is there. I mean, I think he's more recognized for
Gilbert Arenas was in this draft in the second round.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Gerald Wallace
and Tony Parker was at the end of the first round. So Tony Parker was a really good point guard.
Jamal Tinsley, I remember him, of course.
Yeah, Jamal Tinsley was
27. Samuel D'Alembert, okay.
Oh, Brian Scalabrine.
Let's see, I thought it was Brendan Haywood was in this draft. Okay, I remember him.
He's right.
I remember that name. Tony Parker, as we mentioned.
Mehmet Okur.
Big
up Mehmet. Wherever you at, Mehmet?
Gilbert Arenas was a second-round pick, as we mentioned. Yeah.
Earl Watson. Yeah. Earl Watson was in this draft. Or Watson got caught up in some situations.
We'll keep it there. We won't elaborate, but yeah.
Just go look up Earl Watson. Go look him up. Situations.
I mean, okay, so outside of but really, who would you think was the best player out of this draft?
Out of this draft, I would say the best player, hands down, is Pau Gasol.
Probably, yeah.
Pau Gasol was by far the most achieved, and as well as but then also it is arguable, actually, though, then with Tony Parker, because Tony Parker definitely does have some championships if you want to just go with that route. But Pau Gasol, Tony Parker are definitely top tier players in this draft.
Well, that's definitely the NBA's international reach now, because Pau Gasol from Spain, Tony Parker from France.
Yeah, and there you go. And this was like one of the, and this is I'm glad you actually brought that up too, because this was actually one of the first drafts. Not that this was the very first draft that they took international players, but this is one of the very first drafts where they started to take more international players. So yeah. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I did not mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
It just hit me. Where's the Knicks pick?
Oh, well, yes. Obviously, this was where, and part of the beginning of that Scott Layden, or you can say, because Isaiah didn't come in yet in 2001. So this was like the beginning of that, where they were trading their picks to try and get some of these stars. This is 2001, so the Knicks weren't
Let's see, were they total trash yet? No, they weren't total. Like
I remember,
they still had,
yeah.
I think they still had Allen Houston on contract, even though he wasn't really playing.
Okay,
So
I
yeah, but they
found
traded their picks though.
I found their pick.
Okay, you got traded to whom?
It says here that they had a second round pick. Oh, I think you'll definitely remember this name. You'll definitely
Oh my god! All right, I already looked up why they don't have their 2001 pick, bro.
you'll remember this name. It says New York Knicks from Boston via Seattle.
Yes.
So Michael Wright. Michael
Well,
Wright from Arizona was their pick.
so basically, what happened was that was when the Knicks. The reason why the Knicks didn't have their pick was it was part of the deal that they made in 2001, where they traded Pat. They had traded Patrick Ewing to Seattle. I remember it was like for Vin Baker. Like they got like
Vin Baker. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now. Basketball Reference is the best. I don't know if you use that, but use it for everything basketball. Yeah. So it says as part of a 4-team trade, the Knicks traded Patrick Ewing. I won't ever forget that day because I was actually a pretty sad day when I read that in the morning. Like I was pretty sad. Like I was trying to be optimistic. This was like my first test as like our human being with emotions and as a Knicks fan and trying to figure out how to balance that because I don't know, you just don't think you get rid of Patrick, but they get rid of Patrick and they get Vin Baker. So like it was Patrick Ewing to Seattle. The Knicks. Hold on. The Knicks also traded Chris Dudley and their 2001 first round pick. To the Suns.
So I wonder who So who did the Suns?
It was like a 4-team trade. So then like the Lakers trade Travis Knight, Glenn Rice, and a 2001 first round draft pick to the Knicks. But then I guess the Knicks must have moved that pick around then later. So it says Michael Wright was then later selected. Oh yeah. So hold on. There was so much movement in this one trade. Because then Luke Longley, you remember when Luke Longley was on the Knicks? Like yes. Luke Longley came over from this trade somehow. So I can't lie, they turned Patrick Ewing into a bunch of stuff.
I mean, I think that's the most fitting way to end this because think about I still remember him in that Sonics. You know how unnatural it looked.
It looked so bad. So bad. Even when he was in an Orlando Magic jersey too, it all looked bad. Like I'd rather Patrick. Granted, you don't want to keep paying him like a certain amount of money, maybe, or any athlete when they get older. But I feel like it was a bad karma ever since they let him go.
Yeah, it's like in baseball, you have the curse of the Bambino. So is this like the Knicks curse? Who knows?
Who knows? But I don't know. I would like to end also by saying that I think the Knicks could be like the Rangers next year. So watch out, baby, watch out.
Go Rangers, go Rangers.
Yeah, some of that surprise.
MSG Juju, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't watch much hockey at all, but I'm gonna watch right now. So I guess support this team.
Game's about to start in a couple minutes, so we ended there, and we'll be back talking basketball amongst other things in the future. So don't worry. So
we'll be here.
We'll be here, but for the last time until the 2022-2023 NBA season, you'll be hearing this music.
Let's go, baby.
I mean, you can go on YouTube and hear it as well, but it won't be.
It's not the same. Yeah, gotta take this vibe.
Exactly. So that's it for the 2022 NBA playoffs that we've been doing for you. I hope you've been entertained by these. We'll be back with more NBA content. As you know, we're going to talk about the NBA draft coming up, the Knicks, what they need to do, what happened, how they became the way they became. So we'll be talking basketball. We'll talk about other sports as well. I know, for those of you who don't know, Rabindra is one of the best NFL fantasy commissioners.
Thank
Also,
you.
NBA fantasy commissioners as well.
Thank you.
So
I appreciate that.
if you're looking for a fantasy league this year, hit us up. I'll get you in contact with Rabindra. You can join one of the leagues. So and it's almost that time. I know we're with OTAs pretty soon. Then next thing it'll be preseason, and then next thing you know, it'll be time for football. NBA season's gonna roll around again. So right now, let's enjoy the summer.
Yeah, football's right around the corner.
Yeah, football's right around the corner. All right, so for myself and Rabindra, I hope you've been very entertained by these podcasts we've been doing, and we will catch you on the next one.
Indeed. Thanks for having me, Park.
No problem. My pleasure as always.